on the geopolitical front. Let me bring in Anurag Singh to probably decode that a little bit. Managing partner, Ansid Capital. Anurag, good evening from where you're at. At least give us your opinion of everything that's playing out on the geopolitical sphere. It's clearly a very, very different world than what we saw at the start of 2025 or what we
Yeah.
expected it to be at the start of 2025. How should one play and what should one expect in terms of the kind of uncertainty that we're seeing?
So, Harsh, we should expect the unexpected, I think, in brief. So, what a year it's turning out to be. By the way, I mean, US markets are doing well. But look, I think what America is doing, we should look at it the resurgence of the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine gained prominence in the 19th century. The core of it was that America, United States of America, should have the entire influence on the entire Western Hemisphere, which is North and South America. And I think some of these countries were broadly failed democracies, in Latin America, and US is avoiding a situation where these countries do deals with China and Russia, which America doesn't want. So expect more of that, but I think it's nothing major is changing. It broadly, America is saying that no Chinese or Russian interference can stay within the southern hemisphere, which is fine. So, which means that world will be more stable. These countries will have some stability. You already know that Venezuela is in a lot of segments is also celebrating this fall, right? Because these were broadly dictators. So I think expect this, but what it does is I would say it brings certainty to the world because America will be more safer because all the territories outside America will be controlled by America itself, right? Which is a more stable environment we see. At the same time, America will say that we will not interfere too much in other countries' affairs, especially in Asia, Middle East, Africa, which means that it is leaving that space open to Europe or China. So that's a more stable world. In terms of geopolitics, that's how I see it, Harsh. I see it as a positive outcome, and I think markets are reflecting that, right? American markets are happy, resurging, and they're giving a good thumbs up to whatever the developments we have seen over the last week.
Anurag, hi, morning. Is it giving a thumbs up or ignoring the geopolitical risk? Because you have Japan and China also now, into a geopolitical confrontation which is coming in. So there are three geopolitical things which are going on: U.S., Venezuela, and maybe now is Greenland coming into play, and Russia and
Mm.
Ukraine is already there, and now China and Japan.
Yeah. No, Sajid, we should see it as a stabilizing force. Look, here is the challenge. A lot of these countries in Latin America were actually a problem. Very few people know, and I'm saying this with very prominent newspapers who have published stories that people from Iran were being given flown to Venezuela and given Venezuelan passports. And this was detected by Canadian intelligence first and then the American intelligence. I think the entire Latin American broken democracies were up for grabs. And I think China and Russia were meddling there. It will give more stability because once you draw lines that this is American hemisphere, don't interfere in these countries, we have absolute control. It gives stability to energy markets, oil markets, we've seen that. And it also sends a message to China and Russia that, look, we also don't want to interfere much in what you do, as long as you don't, take over genuine, reasonable countries, right? There might be some disputes, but I think it gives more stability and it puts more onus on Europe to spend more in their defense and kind of do, their own thing. It also takes emphasis away from United Nations, which is broadly looking like a failed body now. So I don't think market is ignoring. I think give it some time. That's my reading. Might be wrong, but there is a huge sentiment boost here in America that Monroe Doctrine is back. The entire Western Hemisphere will be controlled by US. What could be better? This is safer. This is good even for those countries. I don't think they were very successful democracy. That's how I see it. We'll see. Time will tell, Sajid. We'll keep talking. We are, we are here.
Anurag, therefore, in this very, very high level of uncertainty, last year it was tariffs, this year it's global geopolitics, and possibly even the maps of the world likely changing the way in which at least statements are coming. How should one
Yeah.
invest? Is precious metals the only way to go? And given the kind of rally, what's the kind of comfort in terms of valuations there?
So Harish, look, before and look at how interesting last year was, right? Here is a just a snippet of some of the countries I was plotting. You know, some of the countries which are undervalued, Korea gave 80% returns, right? Dollar terms, I'm talking. Brazil, about 23%, Mexico, 35%, Japan, 20%, even Europe, 20%. Entire emerging market basket after a long time was 30% up. So there will be opportunities intermittently within countries which are undervalued, and there will be opportunities to move out from the countries which are overvalued. So I think in terms, look, I am a person who understands equity. I don't understand gold so much. So it's very hard to say, in an uncertain world, gold goes up. I think world is moving more towards stability because a lot of these impending decisions, US is actually taking those decisions. And so once the act is done, you find that things become more stabilized. They don't become unstable, right? The simmering tension during Biden administration, that was more unnerving. Once the B-2s came and done with the Iran bombing, the world is more stable. So I think I don't have an opinion on gold so much. I think I generally see that it's a fool's gold basically, right? But it has worked for a while for high inflation countries, so that's fine. In US, gold is not a big it's not a big sought after metal. Now, how to look at India? I think, can I just leave with this thought, because we're discussing India has to come into picture. There is a bit of an oddity in Indian market in the last 5 years. An oddity is that India has not seen a correction on the indices on any year. And this is the 10th year India has positive returns, right? In last 5 years, every market has taken steep correction in 22 and 23. And Indian markets were saved by the flows. So I think the risk for India continues to be that valuations are still pretty high. And I don't think they are pricing in the lower nominal GDP growth. It will be great for long-term investors if market take a sizable correction, and then everything will be hunky-dory, opportunities will emerge. Today, I find it very difficult to find opportunities in the Indian market. That's the tightrope. But outside of that, I think investors will have to just keep shuffling between in terms of asset allocation. They'll have to keep the bond and fixed income maybe 30 or 40% as long, until this risk tapers off. World is going to be a little more difficult, for foreign trade, and especially with respect to India, right? Obviously, we know the deal is not happening, and it's not happening for, we don't know for what is the reason, but I don't think India wants to let US products into the country. And so that's a judgment call. We should leave it to the government. That's how I see it, Harsh. It's a limited take, but that's how global investors like me see the world right now.
Okay, Anurag, great to be chatting with you this morning. Thanks so much for your time.